right, welcome everyone to the Cherry Heat Check. I am Ricky Thompson. This is an unofficial Lobo Basketball podcast. Today is Monday, July 21st, 2025. Have a lot of Lobo news to get into, Mountain West Conference news to get into here today. Some action in the NBA Summer League for Nelly Jr. Joseph. Timeo Pons had a good showing in the U19 World Championships in Switzerland. Grand Canyon has been added to the Mountain West as of July 8th, 2025, and will now join the Lobos in their conference. And the Lobos have decided on their jersey numbers. I will touch on that as well. Always have all the details for you on the Lobos. But first, where I want to start is with our man, Nelly Jr. Joseph, who played at UNM 2 years under Coach Pitino, becoming an all-conference player. His final year being invited to a senior all-star game a few months ago. Continues his career in the NBA Summer League for the Atlanta Hawks, where he played 6 games, averaging over 18 minutes a game, 6 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal per game. In his final game on Sunday versus the Boston Celtics, he finished with 11 points on 5 of 5 from the field, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, which one led to a fast break where he caught the ball back on a fast break where he ran the court, finished with 2 hands for the highlight reel dunk. Wishing all the best to Nelly as he continues to get looks. Would hope that some NBA scouts give him a chance after what they saw and what they've seen in college as his game has progressed. Really has become a quick decision maker on the block, a better passer, obviously a disruptor on defense that blows up pick and rolls with his quick hands, and then ability to run the floor in high motor. We hope there's a spot for him in the NBA, but understanding how the game is played now with the 5-out positionless type of basketball many teams play, it may be hard for him to find a spot. When I think about players in the NBA at the top of my head now that he kind of fits the mold of in a lower level, that would be someone like a Kevon Looney that played on the Warriors for multiple years. I think he'll be on the Pelicans now. Steven Adams comes to mind, someone who's on the Houston Rockets right now as a hard screener, hard rebounder, paint protector, protector of their teammates on the court, and someone that's not all about stats and able to do the dirty work. And I think Nelly could be able to do that if given the shot, but there's very hard to make the NBA, and even harder now when you kind of fit the skill set of Nelly when you're not able to stretch the floor really past 10 to 15 feet on a consistent basis. But I had the opportunity to interview Nelly last year at Mountain West Media Days while I was with the Pit Press, and that was just fantastic. One of the most humble young men and hardest working guys that I've met, and we just wish him the best going forward. A Lobo that was on last year's roster that we may be seeing sooner than later is Ibrahim Asako. He will be moving south and playing for the New Mexico State Aggies next year after playing 1 season at New Mexico. Also spent time at Georgia Tech as a Yellow Jacket last year. Only really played about 5.8 minutes off the bench, did shoot almost 58% from the field in those games as a Lobo. The year before at Georgia Tech, he played 20 games and 3 starts there. So without me really knowing the depth chart of the New Mexico State Aggies right now, I would hope that Sacco gets an opportunity to play, because I think he is someone that can add valuable minutes to a team. And it seems like New Mexico State could use a body and a player like him. So looking forward to see what he does down south. Timeo Pons, as I mentioned, Lobo that will be incoming from France, hopefully soon to the Lobos. I believe he was the last signed recruit of Olin's class, a 6'7" guard and forward who we've touched on before on this show, has been playing in the U19 World Cup in Switzerland, where you have freshman and sophomore age players playing in this tournament with, I don't know, it was over 10 to 12 teams. France, I believe, finished in 10th place. But in the games that Timeo Pons did play in all the games, playing 16 and a half minutes per game, I believe, coming off the bench in those games, but scoring 7.5 points per game on 43% shooting, including 36.7% from downtown, and led France in total three-pointers made, making 11 out of his 30 shots from downtown. And these three-pointers are really coming, from a variety of places and coming in a variety of ways in the offense for France. And I will admit there was not a lot of good guard play on this France team, which made it harder for Pons sometimes to get open looks. But he's able to shoot the spot up shot, without the dribble, but can also curl off a pick, release it right away with a high, repeatable um, arc on that, but also able to shoot off the dribble from, behind the back, step back style shot with hands in his face. A very fluid player that I didn't see in the initial, highlight videos we saw of him playing in France. But when you consider the type of talent he was going up against in this U19 tournament, the USA team that they played against had the likes of AJ DeBonsa, who going to BYU next year may be the number one pick in the NBA draft the following year. Also, a point guard that will be a freshman at Louisville by the last name of Williams. Very high level. Koa Pete also on that team. So Timeo Pons in that game for the United States actually played one of his better games individually and knocked down a variety of threes, as I'm going to show some film of that. Here he comes curling off a screen in rhythm, hand in his face, able to shoot over the shorter defender just because his hands are so high on that shot. Here he is spotting up in the corner, low pass, still able to get it up and over the defender for a three. And then another corner three here with a man running out on him, another swish for our man Timeo Pons. And this was something he did throughout the tournament, and really looking forward to what this will add to Coach Olin's system as we kind of see the vision they must have had in recruiting this guy, as he is just a sniper from outside and takes, in this tournament, out of his 5.3 shots a game in 7 games, 4.3 of those 5.3 shots were from downtown. So we know where he likes to shoot, but we also saw the ability to get inside and mix it up on the boards, averaging 3 rebounds a game. So I think the expectation for Pons, while we don't know much about him, what he showed, just over these 7 games was enough for me to say he can be a high level contributor on the Lobos this season. In his best game versus Mali, he had 15 points on 5 of 8 shooting, including 3 of 6 from downtown and 4 rebounds. His frame obviously is still a little thin, but that being something they can hopefully cover up on defense with his lack of physicality that'll be needed in Mountain West play against teams like San Diego State, Utah State, and now GCU that are just loaded with very good size and talent. So it'll be interesting to see how Pons is used, how many minutes he gets, but I definitely think he will be getting minutes as he looks to be possibly the best shooter on this Lobo roster at the moment. And with that Lobo roster being intact and Pons really being the final player not to be in Albuquerque yet, we look at the 13 of the 14 Lobos that are on campus now, that Tomislav Boljan, international player from Croatia, has come over and has been practicing with the Lobos as well. So can't wait for Pons to finish up whatever he needs to do with his visa, consulate meetings, and fly over to Albuquerque because we need to get him on the same page as the rest of the boys. Looking at the schedule for November, the in-season tournament, the Hall of Fame Classic that the Lobos will be playing in Kansas City that we've mentioned a few times. We now know the first opponent and the time. That will be Nebraska on November 20th at 6 p.m. in Kansas City. And the next day they will follow up on November 21st versus either Kansas State or Mississippi State. And that will be the week, I believe, before Thanksgiving. Those will obviously be two of the best, if not the two best, out of conference opportunities they will have outside of a VCU team um, that they will take on, I believe, in December. But with this addition to GCU, that will obviously give them other opportunities for quad one or quad two wins, depending on how many times they play these other teams in the conference. As even with GCU being added, the conference will now stick to a 20 game schedule moving forward, meaning some teams will only play each other one time. And that will probably ruffle Steve Alford's feathers, as we know he gave a classic quote 2 years ago, I believe, when they only had the 18 game schedule, saying something along the lines of, yeah, but not every team had to come to Lawler. Well, that will be the case this year as well. I'm hoping the Lobos actually get a harder schedule and play those top rated teams in the conference like San Diego State, GCU, Boise, UNLV, Colorado State, and Utah State 2 times, and maybe only play some of these what we project as lower level schools one time, like an Air Force, San Jose State, Fresno State. I would like to only play them one time, which sounds stupid, but in the grand scheme, it will only build the resume of the Lobos if they can win those games, which I'm thinking they'll have a good shot to do. Other news is that the Lobos have picked out their jersey numbers. Most notable changes, well, a lot of guys are making jersey changes from the jersey numbers they wore last year, including Dayton Albury will be changing to number 1 after wearing number 13 last year at Utah State. TJ Rock will be rocking number 35 after wearing number 30 last year at Iowa State. Timeo Pons, the Frenchman who I just mentioned, will wear a number I don't think any Lobo has ever worn, or many basketball players for that matter, in number 29, which he also wore at that FIBA World Championship. Antonio Chol will be slated to wear number 5 after wearing that last year at Garden City Community College. Transferred to Javis Miller will wear number 2 after wearing 21 at North Dakota State. And Kevin Porter Jr. of USC will now be wearing number 0 after wearing 8 last year at USC. So lots of shifting of numbers for these guys. Hopefully picking out the one that suits them best. And I'm wondering how it works out if two guys wanted the same number. Maybe they play one-on-one for it, or they play a game of knockout or something to that effect. But glad we know the numbers. Will be interesting to see which jerseys they have online for us to buy and in the Lobo Den. What NIL number jerseys and t-shirts will be out there first. But hitting on GCU and what this addition to the Mountain West means, bringing over 17 sports, of course, including men's and women's basketball, bringing over in basketball an elite recruiting class that Coach Bryce Drew has put together in the portal, and bringing in foreign players this year. Bringing in Jaden Henley from UNLV, who averaged over 12 points last year for the Rebels. Dusty Stromer, high-level recruit from Gonzaga, who's looking for a bigger opportunity. And then they're bringing in someone who could be a Mountain West Conference all-conference player in Brian Moore Jr., a senior point guard transferring over from Norfolk State, who won the Lou Henson Award as the top mid-major player in the country last year, giving 18 points a game, over 3 rebounds, and 55% from the field. Some late additions for GCU in the portal included 2 foreign guys and Evan Boisdor, a 6'1", dynamic, bursty guard from France who averaged over 21 points in his league last year, and a 7-foot tall Turkish big man who apparently is able to play inside and outside. And I'm going to say this wrong, but his name is F.A. Demirel. So what Coach Bryce Drew has done there, getting into the tournament the last, 4 out of the last 5 years, bringing the Lopes to national relevance. It's just something that I think, the Mountain West really needed with all these good basketball teams they're going to be losing, as you can see my graphic here. After 25-26 this season, of course, Boise, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Utah State will all be exiting. So we're on deck for the biggest, baddest Mountain West basketball season possibly of all time. And after that, it will probably drop off a level with UC Davis filling the void along with Hawaii. Of course, GCU will already be in place. And then UTEP will join the Mountain West as well. They looking like a program, hopefully gaining some stability and support and moving to the Mountain West, hoping that all those schools, will be up to the task of growing their basketball programs with these historically great teams even that are leaving the conference, especially San Diego State and Utah State and Colorado State over the last few years. Those are big time losses and really going to hurt, but the Mountain West will still be a strong basketball conference with the Lobos, UNLV, Nevada, and GCU hopefully taking the top of the mountain there. But along with just the great basketball program, adding the region of Arizona, Phoenix to this conference, adding another rival for schools like UNLV and New Mexico, where the cities are a short drive apart and there's great student support. I just think GCU fits in perfectly, and the fans will be willing to travel to that location, and hopefully other people in the Phoenix area that are not GCU fans will get drawn into Mountain West basketball watching these late night games between these teams that we love. And the final bit of Lobo news I wanted to hit on is the announcement of a new shopping and restaurant retail center called the Lobo Crossing Retail Center has finally gained key approval over the past few weeks from the Board of Regents. And this will be a 38-acre space that the university-owned land east of I-25 that will have a 3,600 square foot open air facility venue with a national food and shopping anchor, as well as 11 other junior tenants in that space. There's been word of In-N-Out hamburgers also being in that area. I don't know if that would be the national food anchor or if it would be someone else, but this is fantastic news for the city, for Lobo fans, sports fans, Isotopes fans, all in that area, being able to hopefully have a brewery or bar connected to this, some different eating options, entertainment and shopping, all hopefully within walking distance of those 3 stadiums, particularly the pit and the football stadium, will just create a whole new feeling, I think, around game day. Being able to make a whole day out of a game where you don't have to tailgate. Instead, you can go into a brewery and hang out for a couple hours or an hour before the game and walk down to the street to the game is huge. Most of new stadiums being built now, including where I live in San Francisco, where the Warriors play at the Chase Center. Over the past few years since they've opened it, they've continued to build restaurants, breweries, outdoor shopping and eating all around the stadium, connected there, really creating a little community almost, and an area where people can watch the game outdoors if they can't get in, as well as just a gathering spot for people to hang out, not even on game day. So this Lobo Crossing retail center is way overdue. I think it will only enhance game day for both basketball, football, and other events all in that area. And I'm just hoping it's Marble Brewery. That's the brewery that gets in there, even though I have not been to the pit in some time. All right, so that will wrap up this episode of the Cherry Heat Check. Grateful for everyone that's listened and subscribed or downloaded the podcast. Has been slowly growing to many surprise, but I am here for the long haul. We'll be here all season, going to be bringing on more guests from the teams the Lobos will face. I'm trying to get a former player on to talk with him as well. So that will all be coming up, and I will be working hard to improve this show for you guys. But thank you for rocking with me so far, and we will catch you on the next one.